Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it is so good to see everybody in Flint. When Roger said, I think I want to hold the leadership advance in Flint, can you think of a couple of places where this might make sense? I was so happy to do that. And is Dr. Donna Fry still in the room? Donna, she was awesome and said, we've got this great space at U of M. We've got a couple of spaces. She made connections for us. And here we are in this wonderful, beautifully, newly renewed space in Flint. So we'll do exactly what Roger said, to talk to you a little bit about what is happening at Court Street. Lori had to leave. Let's see who's here. Kelly, raise your hand. Kelly, Gabrielle, raise your hand. Joanne, Sue. Is Esther still out there? Esther, if you're out there, come on in for a second, Esther. Come on in. Is Emily here? All right. Everybody stand up. All the McFarlan team stand up. We are so fortunate. And before I do that, I want to make sure, I know everybody heard the board members, but really, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the McFarlan board. So I know I saw Louise, please stand up. Charles, Donna. I think that's everybody. So McFarlan is a really unique and phenomenal organization. As Roger said, it was this well-kept secret in the field of aging services, and very quickly has become a force to be reckoned with. McFarlan not only has a strong presence in Flint and Genesee County, we have a strong national presence. That national presence is specifically around affordable housing, workforce, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really bringing forth the next generation of leaders in aging services. So that's work that we are so proud of. This is work that really through PVM, the McFarlan board, and most importantly, the McFarlan staff that we've been able to share, within, the United States. But what has happened at Court Street is, I really want to be brief, but it's almost short of a miracle. I wish Lori was here. This morning, Audra and I were really talking about, the first impressions we had of Court Street when we came here and what it is today. When I first started, I know Court Street very well. My father grew up in the neighborhood that Court Street is in. My grandmother, when I first started at PVM, really lived at the end of the street, the Avon that you will see when you're there today, that Court Street is on. I now live in that house, so I live in the neighborhood. And my grandmother, for a brief period of time after my grandfather died, actually lived in the 700 building, Court Street West. So again, most places there's 6 degrees of separation. At Court Street, there's probably 1 or 2. So of course, near and dear to my heart. But when I got there, it was in tough shape. The organization who started it, and you'll be able to see this, they were very thoughtful. It was a Methodist church, Court Street Methodist Church, which is just west of our building on Court Street. They decided instead of building a church, they would really do something for the community and seniors. So they just had this really great vision to build this affordable senior housing in a neighborhood where the residents were aging and there were these big houses, and they had the assumption that older adults would want to move. They didn't know anything about home and community-based services. This was, back in the 80s when they were developing this. And Doris Sane, who really was just a pioneer, just a lot like Mary McFarlan, almost 100 years prior to that, she went to Washington and got some of the first tax credits for this wonderful development where there was a lot of thought put into it. But the issue is the assumptions had changed. Older adults weren't wanting to leave their homes. Flint had really started to shift. That was right around the time that General Motors realized they didn't need all of these different factories. And so Flint really became almost a troubled city. At the same time, the Mott Foundation wasn't doing as much investing in the city and schools. They were, doing a lot of international investment. So buildings like Court Street, really began to struggle. So fast forward, McFarlan was involved in Court Street from the onset. We had board members on the organization who built its board, but that organization really couldn't hold on to it, and they could not put the money into the building to really keep it up. And all of you in development on the board know it takes a lot of money to make the buildings run, and both of those buildings are over 100 units. And so it was in tough shape. And I remember, my thoughts were, oh my gosh, until I am comfortable with my parents living here, I'm not going to be happy. And almost from the day I got there, I made a commitment to the staff and the residents. We are going to, improve this community to make it the best place to live and work. And I didn't necessarily know how that was going to happen, but we have a phenomenal team that really believed in that mission and worked hard. And what we did things slowly but surely. We did what we could. We knew that there was going to take a lot to keep the buildings affordable, but, really bring them up into the 21st century. So we worked hard. We said we might not be new and shiny, but we'll be clean. We scrubbed the buildings. We may not have a new building, but we're going to offer the best services. We are going to make it a wonderful place for residents to live. So we did all that. But again, the building still needed to be renewed. And so the McFarlan board, we talked it through, we talked about it. We worked with Brian. Brian, do you remember some of those early performers? They were in the red, it got worse as years went on. It was like it got deeper and deeper red as we got out, 10, 15 years. But the McFarlan board had made a commitment, not only to the city of Flint, through their new mission, vision, and values. They said, we are going to make sure we're focusing on Flint, but more importantly, we are committed to affordable housing. And so this became a labor of the mission. And so even though that performer looked real scary, and I'm sure a whole lot of people thought this made no sense, the McFarlan board was steadfast and very focused on redeveloping this campus. So then, we're working with PVM, and we're working with PVM as looking at helping us do this development. We're contracting with FA, and PVM said, you know what? When we started thinking through the funding, let's partner. Roger has been committed to Flint and Genesee County like no other. I mean, he's an honorary citizen of Flint. I will be honest with you. He really knows a lot and is really deeply invested in the community. And so he said, let us work together on this in a really meaningful way and become true partners. We're now, it's a joint partnership. This particular relationship goes deeper than a management agreement. This is a PVM and McFarlan joint venture. This is a property that we will co-own together. And so that relationship, that evolution of the relationship just continues. And so I'm so excited today for you all to come and see what we've done, to really feel the community. We've got residents speaking, but it really was a community effort. It was a effort with colleagues, with governance, with the PVM board saying, yes, let's do this, the McFarlan board leading the charge, and the staff, really just digging in and doing so much work to bring this to where we are today. So I'm going to leave us there. If anybody has any questions, you can always get in touch with me. I know we got to keep moving on the program, but I do hope you can come and see and be able to really appreciate what this affordable housing in a city that, people couldn't understand why our board would invest in that way. You'll be able to see it and feel it when you get on the campus today. So thank you.